Oh, hello. It's good to see all of you. How's your week going? Not too good? So? Okay. Well, I hope you're having a wonderful time. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the difference between infinitives and gerunds. Now, if you are a beginner ESL learner, usually you have one verb per sentence, right? Now, let's take it to the next step, a little bit more advanced, where you want to include two verbs or two ideas into one sentence. How do we do that? Let's look over here. I love cooking. I love to cook. What is the difference? And what is this? Now, previously we learned that, okay, if you have a verb and the ing form, right? For example, let's say I am talking. This is a verb in the ing form, but this is not a gerund, okay? This is called a present participle. If you don't want to remember these grammar names, all you need to remember is if you have the be verb here and it's attached, it's connected to a verb in the ing form, this is going to be part of the present continuous tense. Or if this is in the past, past continuous, right? This is going to be different from what we're looking at here. So we have the verb love. There's two ways to express the idea that you love this activity of cooking. You can say, I love cooking, or I love to cook. Both of these are equal in meaning. So to give you an idea is when you have a verb, you will conjugate, you will change this verb. For example, if I say he loves cooking, or he loves to cook, whatever you see after here and here, you will not change. Okay, that's really important. So the infinitive in this case, we notice it has the verb in the base form. You do not change that, okay, remember. And then here we have the word to. To for the infinitive is what helps connect these ideas. This verb, it functions similar to a noun. So we call this idea a verbal noun. It looks like a verb, but kind of acts like a noun, okay? So there's a list of these verbs that we need to study. There's certain verbs, so whatever you see before the gerund or before the infinitive, we need to memorize these verbs. These verbs will tell us what we need to include after, whether we use the infinitive or gerund. Now, of course, if you tell me, for example, a sentence like, I enjoy, if I see this word enjoy, oh, I'm sorry, that's a little ugly. If I see the word enjoy, this verb, and I want to say, okay, I enjoy the beach. I go to the beach. Okay, if I want to put those two ideas together, I could say I enjoy going to the beach, right? It is sunny California, so I enjoy going to the beach. But this is the verb that tells me that whatever verb or noun that I add after, I must have it in the gerund form. Of course, if I say I enjoy to go to the beach, grammatically it is not correct, but you understand what I'm saying, right? So let's first start with verbs that can be used both in the infinitive and both in the gerund without any change to meaning. And then we're going to look at some examples of verbs specifically used in the gerund and verbs specifically used in the infinitive, okay? So let's take a look. Okay, so let's look over here. First, ignore this. Just focus on the middle. So we talked about love, right? You could say, I love dancing, or I don't love dancing. You can have the negative in front, right? Or I like to dance. Infinitive, remember we have to, right? And then we have our verb. Over here, the verb is going to be in the ing form, okay? All of these ones in the middle are easy to use. Like, love, hate, begin, start, similar, continue, and prefer. So these verbs in the middle can be used with the infinitive or the gerund, and there's no change in meaning. Beautiful, easy, right? Well, it gets harder later. So in part 2 of the video, I will teach you verbs that can be used in the gerund and can be used in the infinitive, but have a little difference in meaning, okay? So I could say, for example, I like to teach, or I like teaching. I hate to wake up early. I always do. Or I hate waking up early, right? I can change this verb tense. It began, past tense, it began to rain. Or it began raining. The teacher started to teach. Or the teacher started teaching, right? Or over here, the man continues to talk, or the man continues talking. I prefer to travel to Africa, right? Or I prefer traveling to Africa. Or I prefer eating at this restaurant and not that restaurant, right? Okay, these ones in the middle, memorize them. That's step 1 because you can practice using it both ways. Get more comfortable with that. We are going to slowly add to this list. I don't want you to memorize a list of verbs for the infinitive and verbs for the gerund and feel bored and not want to do it anymore. We have to do it little by little. And as we study and we introduce more verbs, more vocabulary, I'm going to ask you to write some sentences for me for practice, okay? So on this side, for the infinitives, remember, if you see this verb first, sorry about that. If you see this verb first, that means whatever follows will have to and then the verb, okay, for the infinitive. So for example, he wants to eat a hamburger, or they need to go home, or my daughter decided to buy a new video game, or I hope to return to school because I miss my students. I miss your faces. Okay, so all of these, if you see these verbs and you want to add to the idea, then you must have to and the base form of the verb. You do not change that. But that's not saying that every sentence must have 2 verbs or 1 verb and 1 verbal noun. You could say, for example, let me change this color. You could say, I want coffee. I want coffee because I am tired. In this situation, you only need 1 verb. You do not always need to use the infinitive or always need to use the gerund. It depends on the situation, what you want to express, what you want to say, right? Now, on this side, we already looked at this example of enjoy, right? I enjoy cooking, right? I enjoy talking to my students. I enjoy teaching. I love teaching. Now, avoid. What does avoid mean? Avoid is usually when you don't want to think about it. For example, if someone is smoking next to you and you are carrying a baby, you want to avoid that person. You don't want to be close to that person, right? Avoid is to kind of push and go in the opposite direction, right? Or for example, I told you in our last video with the simple past tense that I fell and I hurt my arm. Now it is slowly getting better. But now I do not want to fall, so I avoid going to difficult bike paths, right? I try to go to safer places. So avoid, and then I'm going to have the gerund. So I avoid going on more dangerous bike paths, right? Complete. Think of it, for example, like I renovated my house, right? Maybe it was old and I wanted it to look new. So I asked some construction workers to help me renovate my house. So I completed renovating my house. It's finished, right? They finished the construction, everything's good. Now there's new cabinets, new bathrooms, right? Okay, dislike. So, like is positive. The opposite, dis, is you don't like it. But dislike is not a verb that you can use for both. Dislike you can only use in the gerund form. So what do you dislike? For me, I dislike being in large crowds. I like more quiet spaces in nature. I do like traveling to different cities all over the world, but I prefer going to places that are a little bit more quiet and peaceful, right? I always hope to meet interesting people whenever I'm traveling because I want to talk to and learn about more cultures, right? I like talking to people because I want to learn more about different cultures all over the world. It is the best part of my job, okay? So to gradually introduce the idea, all I want you to think about for the gerund and the infinitive is that there's two ways to add another verb or a verbal noun to your sentence, to your idea, right? As we gradually build more complex sentences and ideas, it's going to get a little bit more challenging. But we're starting off small right now. We're just imagining how we can put two verbs together, right? You either will have the infinitive and you need to with the base form of the verb, or you're going to add the verb in the ing form, okay? Remember that. So let's try to simplify this. Infinitives and gerunds have one thing in common. They can both be used as the subject of a sentence. Now, what does that necessarily mean? Let me move my camera. Okay, so for example, let's say a gerund. Smoking is bad for you, for your health, right? Smoking is bad for your health. Now, I would say that if you want to use the gerund, not gerund, right? The first time I saw this word, I was like, gerund? What is that? And then I heard someone say gerund. I was like, gerund? Okay, so this is called a gerund. So usually gerunds are found also at the front of the sentence or the subject. Smoking is bad for you. Reading helps you learn English. Studying a new language is important for your growth, your development, right? So this can be used as a subject, and so can the infinitive. For the infinitive, you may have heard the famous William Shakespeare, right? Quote, to be or not to be, that is the question, right? So the infinitive, you can start a sentence with to as well. You could say, for example, to learn English is very important, right? In this case, to learn English is very important. It's not that it's correct, right? It's very kind of more formal, but I prefer using the gerund for the subject of the sentence. In fact, it is more common. To see this is not as common. Maybe it's for a specific situation that is a bit more formal, but the gerund you can use in all cases. So I prefer to use the gerund. That's why I have the star here. But I want to show you both in case when you are reading, you ask, why is to in front of the verb, right? Or why is there a verb in an ing form? It's because it's a gerund or it's an infinitive. Now the infinitive can also be used after an adjective, but the gerund is used after a preposition. So let me give you some examples. Let's say here, I'm very happy. Happy is my adjective, right? Then if I want to continue the idea, I would say to, because the infinitive, to see you, right? I am very happy to see you, right? Now, over here, if I have a preposition, right? Preposition, for example, if we say, I'm thinking about. Okay, about is our preposition, right? There are a lot of different types of prepositions. And it's often one area that students struggle with, even native speakers, native English learners. Or native English speakers. So in this case, about is an example of a preposition. And later I will have videos talking more about the different types of prepositions. But here, I'm thinking about. Okay, so I'm thinking about what? I can have any verb I want and the ing form, the gerund, right? So I'm thinking about eating ice cream. Or I'm thinking about sleeping. Or I'm thinking about shopping for food later, right? Or I'm thinking about teaching my students, right? So in these cases, I'm going to show you a website for a list of examples that use the preposition and some more examples that use adjectives, okay? And as we have more videos talking about infinitives and gerunds, part 2 and part 3, we're gonna go more into detail, okay? Now to give you a little bit more or a clear idea of what I mean when we use the infinitive with the adjective, we know a lot of adjectives, right? Like happy, sad, brave, chatty, serious, funny, right? These are different types of adjectives that we have studied previously. But I have some more that I would like to share with you here. So we have amazed, angry, awkward, careless. So this is the opposite of careful, clever, crazy, delighted, difficult, disappointed, easy. So I am going to provide you with this under the comments for YouTube for you to look at. But let's say we try to take one of these examples. Let's say we take one of these examples. Let's say impossible. And you know what? Let's do another one. Lucky. Okay, I lied. Let's do another one. Proud. Okay, so let's take a look at these examples. So let's take a look at 3 adjective examples. Let's say for example, impossible, lucky, and proud. Okay, so look behind me. If you have an adjective, more often or not, you're going to have this be verb, right? So let's say we had the adjectives impossible, proud, and we said, what did we say? Let me see. Lucky. Okay, lucky. So only focusing on this side first, let's make some sentences. So we're going to use the be verb, an adjective, and then we're going to use the infinitive. What is that going to look like? Well, let's write some sentences here for now. So I could say, let's say we're taking a test, and the test is so difficult. So I could say, it is, the be verb, impossible, my adjective, infinitive, to pass this test, right? Maybe the test is really, really difficult and you're like, oh my gosh, this is impossible. This is impossible to pass. So you have your subject, your be verb, your adjective, and then your infinitive, right? Now let's look at another example, proud. I always use this to talk about my students. I am very proud of all of you, right? Learning English is not easy and it requires a lot of patience. So, I am proud. I am very proud. Be verb, adjective, to be your teacher. I am proud to be your teacher. It is my honor. I am so happy to be your teacher. Okay? So again, be verb, adjective, infinitive here. Okay? Let's look at one more. Lucky. Now, right now with the coronavirus situation, things have been difficult. But we we are lucky to be healthy and safe, right? I know everyone hates staying at home. It's not fun. I miss socializing with my friends. I miss seeing my students, right? Giving hugs, shaking your hands, but we are lucky. We are lucky to be healthy and safe at home, right? So this gives you an idea. This is one of the ways you can use an adjective when you want to use the infinitive to connect this idea, to elongate it or make it more complicated with other ideas. Now, let's take a look at prepositions. So we did a little bit of this. Now let's talk about prepositions. So we have a preposition with a gerund, okay? So let's say, for example, we have various prepositions, which I will show you right here. This I will also post for you later, but different types of prepositions are paired. They go together with verbs. So sometimes we may need to study what verbs and what prepositions go together. Like, for example, think about, right? I am thinking about shopping, or I am thinking about eating ice cream and pizza because it's Friday and we are celebrating, right? But I like these examples here. Without, you know what? Actually, Okay, let me underline these. Let me change this color, and let's take a look at some of these examples. So without, this is my preposition. At, that's my preposition. By, that's another preposition. After, against, in, and of. So in these cases, for example, number 1, can you sneeze, my verb, without my preposition? If it will let me write a P, my preposition. And then here I have my gerund, right? So, can you sneeze without opening your mouth? Ugh. Because sometimes when people sneeze, they go, achoo, and it goes everywhere, right? And during the coronavirus, you want to be careful with your germs and your saliva. Saliva is what is inside your mouth, kind of like spit. Okay. This one, she is good. Okay, so I have the be verb here and I have an adjective, but I have here a preposition, right? So in that case, since I have a preposition here, that means I'm going to use the gerund and the ing form after. She is good at playing basketball. He is great at playing the piano. Okay, next, remember this word, avoid. She avoided him by, this is my preposition, by walking on the opposite side of the road. She did not want to talk to him, so she avoided him. Okay, next, we arrived in Madrid after driving all night. Okay, next, my father decided. Usually the word decided will use the infinitive, right? I decided to live in California. In this case, we have, though, a preposition. So this is going to change. We're going to use a gerund. So my father decided against postponing his trip to Hungary. What does postpone mean? What does that word mean? Postpone, let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay. Postpone ends with an E, okay? Postpone means you are going to delay something. You're not going to do it now, you're going to do it later. So my father decided against, he decided not to postpone his trip to Hungary, okay? Now here, there is no point, there is no reason in waiting. There's no point in waiting for 2 hours at a restaurant. You can order delivery, right? Okay. In spite of means despite. So in spite of missing the train, we arrived on time. So even though we missed the train, we were still on time for the party or for the event, right? Now this we're going to talk a little bit more about later, phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs typically have a verb and then a preposition or an adverb after. Usually it could be 2 words or it could be 3 together, right? I have taught my students phrasal verbs, for example, look up to. Look up to means to respect someone, right? Or hang out, or hang up the phone, right? So if you see phrasal verbs as well, like give up means you stop. You're like, no more, right? I always tell my students, never give up. I know learning English is hard. I am trying to learn other languages myself, and it is not easy. Some days I feel very frustrated, but every day is a new opportunity to learn and improve, right? So when will you give up? My phrasal verb, smoking. So phrasal verb, and then you have your gerund, right? Uh-oh, there we go. Okay, sorry, that's a G. Your gerund. Okay, she always puts off. Puts off means to delay. It means you push it back for a later time. Let me make this bigger and so I can show you. So puts off, here. Okay, so let me write these down. So give up means to stop, right? I always tell my students never give up, never stop learning. Now put off means to delay. Means you don't do it now, you'll do it later. So you put off going to the grocery store. You put off cleaning your house. You put off washing your dishes, right? Now, kept on. Kept is the past tense of keep. So if you keep on doing something, here we go. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so for example, let's use this one and use this one. Okay, so here, keep on means to continue something. So he kept asking for money. He continued to ask for more money, right? Okay, ended up. Ended up means it was not planned. It was a result that happened but wasn't planned, okay? So a situation, it's like the result of an unplanned situation. So, for example, let's say I am going to the car shop. I want to purchase a new car. I want to buy a Toyota, right? Or a Tesla. But I go to the store and there are no Teslas or no Toyotas. And so I end up buying a Honda car instead, right? It was unplanned. My plan was to purchase a Toyota or a Tesla car, but it was not there. So I ended up, the result of an unplanned event or situation, I ended up buying a Honda. So Jim ended up buying a new TV after his old TV broke. Did he plan for the TV to break? No, he didn't. It was unexpected. So he ended up buying a new TV. Now, I hope that gives you a little bit of a better idea of how to use infinitives and gerunds. Remember, there's verbs that we need to study. There's no easy shortcut. It's the same for irregular past tense verbs. How do you know buy is bought, or come is came, or sing is sang? Studying, right? Practice with me. So, infinitives and gerunds are used depending on what verb is in front, the first verb used. It's also going to be used depending on if you have an adjective or, in this case, a preposition. So down below in the comments, I want you to write me at least one example sentence of each, an infinitive and a gerund. Show me that you can write one successfully, okay? Now, if you have any questions, you know where to find me, and I'm always more than happy to help you. I am so proud of all of you. We are slowly advancing our grammar little by little, and I can already see the improvements. So keep up the great work and never give up, okay? I know you can do this. Have a wonderful day, and I cannot wait to see you all soon. Bye.